Okay, and we're back with the last panel. I know we're wrapping our heads around a lot of topics that we've discussed. Some of them are very multi-layered, so requiring a little more brain cells for processing this afternoon. The final panel of today focuses on one element that every single expert we speak to today can agree that it's one of the most important aspects in almost any industry, and that's talent. Empowering talent in construction is the headline of our final panel for today. The industry knows from recent experience that a lack of skilled or experienced people cause project delays and can hit productivity pretty hard. This panel will basically discuss all the pain points, all of them, Don't miss any. From a talent building perspective and the solutions offered with Project Management Institute newest offering, the Construction Professional in Built Environment Project Certification, and how talent acquisition could begin early through partnerships with educational institutions as well. I'd like to first welcome Dr. Brahim Shira, who's the Chief Transformation Officer at the Saudi Arabian Airlines, leading the group's transformation and strategy implementation. Dr. Shira holds 4 academic degrees and more than 46 professional certificates with more than 22 years of experience across several fields, including defense, security, healthcare, agriculture, transportation, and technology. He's an active speaker as well, and a familiar face. Yes, we're doing a little bit of musical chairs today, so yes, we're trying to match the photo with the chair. Thank you and welcome. Next up is Sierra Hampton-Simmons, Vice President, Products, Project Management Institute. Welcome, Sierra. At PMI, she's responsible for the entire portfolio of products, including certifications, online learning, events, standards and publications, and Brightline. She's over 2 decades of experience as an expert in digital products, development and management, with a track record for transforming and developing lucrative brands to include relevant performance-based testing and training. Welcome. Next up is Dr. Mohammed Diab. He's a professor in the Construction Management Program at Minnesota State University. He holds a Baccalaureate of Science in Architectural Engineering from Ain Shams University, a master's as well, an MBA and a PhD. MashaAllah, we have a conglomerate of certificates and higher education degrees on this panel. Welcome, Doctor. His industry background and research includes construction, risk management, and project delivery methods as well. You're welcome. Welcoming also Hiba Shahi, who's the head of PMO at Dubai Municipality. Hiba is an experienced head of PMO with a demonstrated history of working in the municipal government industry. She's skilled in PMO establishment, application development, ITL service management, and agile project management. She basically as well, oh my goodness, if I sit and enumerate all the degrees and the certificates that you all have, mashallah. CAL, TOGF, ITIL certified, business agility assessor, mashallah, from several universities as well. Last but not least, Ben Breen, head of construction, you're welcome, and managing director, Project Management Institute. He's originally from Australia and moved to Singapore. And since then, he's helped to change the landscape of Asia Pacific, having worked hundreds of projects, including iconic developments such as Marina Bay Sands. He's founded and led project management and design companies and helped them to grow into best-class providers. I'd like to welcome the moderator for this panel, David Clifton, who's the regional director of Faithful and Gold. He has over 20 years of experience working across Europe and the Middle East, with 13 of those spent working across program management and economic market and M&A advisory in the Middle East. You're welcome. You have 50 minutes and your timer will start now.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. And welcome to the panel. Now, to start this panel off, I'm going to start with a very broad brush question. Since we've come back out of the pandemic, we're post-pandemic, we have seen a fundamental supply-side problem across every industry, and that includes talent. So we've got problems on the supply side. What are the pain points that you guys see in your business, in your industry, in regards to the attraction and retention of talent? So I'll start naturally with Ibrahim. Can you tell us what Saudi is seeing it? I mean, you've got an industry that really was hit hard.
So first of all, aviation is one of the volatile businesses around the globe, especially when it's get hit by the pandemic. And post-pandemic, it becomes difficult to retain all these skills and all these talented people that might be lost during the pandemic and maybe during also the post-pandemic. The supply side also becomes always a challenge for aviation transportation as a whole, because it's basically driven by the national regulator strategies across the kingdom. And when it comes to Vision 2030, we're aiming to have around more than 300 million passengers throughout 2 mega hub airports in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. That means that we have a lot of demand that's going to come throughout regulations, and we need to be ready for the supply side of it when it comes to transportation, especially when it comes to transportation through air, which is air transport. In Saudia Group, we have Saudi Airlines and we have Fly Deal, low-cost carrier and full-service carrier, and those two are heavily depends on the supply chain, basically on the supply chain side of the aircrafts and also of the equipments and the parts that makes the availability of those aircrafts always in place when it comes to the need of those, and also to make sure that globally and regionally and globally we answer the demands that keep coming up after the pandemic, and it will make it also difficult for starting all these projects. That is why every airlines across the globe, post-pandemic, they apply certain measures to ensure that they can return back to wherever they were before the pandemic throughout the transformational initiatives that make sure that we are pushing our profitability or bottom line a little bit to the up to make sure that we answer these demands. So the supply side of the aviation is always become a problem, always become difficult, and we're trying our best to make sure that we can answer to the supply side.
Okay, thank you. And what do you feel in terms of your experience in coming out of the post-pandemic and the challenges and the pain points we're seeing?
So during the pandemic, everyone got to experience working from home, whether you had done it before or not, regardless of the industry. And as people are entering back into the workforce, what you're seeing is they have more demands, right? Yeah. It's not, someone said earlier, table stakes is the pay. They want to feel like they're being enriched, that they're growing. And when they don't see that, they will quietly quit your job and decide that they want to become entrepreneurs. A lot of that is happening. They've decided it's better to be in business for themselves and be contractors. And sometimes they, that doesn't really lend well if you're in a corporation looking for talent. So what I'm seeing and witnessing is that a lot of organizations are struggling to attract and then retain the talent, because the models we used prior to the pandemic was just merely about pay, compensation, and benefits. And now it's about softer things or more nuanced things like, how do I feel that I belong here? How do I see that you appreciate my skills? Are you aligned with my aspirations? Maybe I don't care about making you money, but the environment is what I care about, for example. And so these are the things that people are contending with, which is not the old model.
Yeah, okay, indeed. And actually, that leads me on to a question that we were talking about different circumstances. And this is interesting because you look at the UAE government sector and we're becoming quite agile in terms of our adoption of the technology, and we want to be a smart city and a smart country. So are you seeing a different adoption of work practices to try and meet some of the challenges, Heba? Because it falls quite naturally into what Sierra was saying, but I'm interested in your view from Dubai Municipality especially.
I think this is a phenomenon globally. It's in different sectors. You can find this in different sectors, but in construction and engineering, we find it very tangible, and we feel the pain because we can't find a skilled labor, skilled professionals, project managers. And I believe the secret with baby boomer, if you already know that they born from 1946 to 1964 with a large population globally, especially in developing countries. And this generation now started to retire. So the shortage is globally, and we cannot really supply, the demand in this industry. And this is what we see it. As I teach in university and then I work with the industry, we cannot really supply the needed professionals to the industry in the same rate. So the rate here of demand is higher than the supply. And the skills also level is not as it should be. So we need more time to train, we need more time to educate the new generation. And this is basically the challenge we face.
Okay, so okay, thank you very much, Doctor. So Heber, have you seen the changes post-pandemic and the sort of challenges and the pain points that DM's been experiencing? Because, you know, as I was saying a minute ago, you know, we want to be a smart city, we want to be as digital as possible. Are you seeing having to adapt to the way in which you treat your employees, or the way you recruit and so forth, or what people's expectations are, as Sierra was mentioning?
So we've definitely seen some gaps, but just to give you some background about Dubai Municipality, we're a huge organization. We're the first organization that ever established in Dubai. We have 14 core businesses. We have more than 15,000 employees. And then the number of projects, let's talk only about construction projects. Last year, the budget of the Dubai government, 60% of the budget was with the construction projects in Dubai Municipality. For us to manage all of these projects, we're definitely seeing gaps, and the gaps, they are not only the gaps that were previously known before COVID-19. After COVID-19, we need to think in a different way. We have done many gap analysis and for the skills that are needed right now. Skills such as data analytics, they are missing. These are the things that we need to focus on. And to manage the supply-demand issue, we are focusing on upskilling the employees that we currently have. We're putting all of our efforts and our training plans in order for us to upskill them instead of hiring people from outside.
Okay, perfect. Well, and it's an interesting one for Ben, because we work in primarily an industry where it's very, very difficult to work from home, or so what challenges have you been seeing really around that issue, and also now that we're coming back through for a recovery and there's supply side problems everywhere, what do you feel as the pain points from our side of the fence?
Yeah, definitely. It's difficult to build a building via Zoom.
Yes,
so,
I do agree with you.
So yeah, look, in the construction industry, definitely, you know, the skills shortages, the issues with attracting and retaining talent has certainly been the number one issue. I was recently in Queensland. You know, they have the Olympic Games coming in 2032, and companies are just poaching engineers and other construction talent from other companies. They're paying 40, 50% more. And why wouldn't these people jump ship and go where they, you know, follow the money while they can? So it's a genuine issue. You know, we're working closely with, say, companies like CBRE, who are hiring thousands and thousands of people. And at first it was about upskilling the individuals. Then it was about, okay, actually by doing that in larger groups, that helps get a better project outcome. But the most interesting thing that we're working with them on is creating cohorts and study groups where they work together, they study together, they're having fun whilst they're going through the, you know, the certification and the learning, and it really creates this stickiness with the organisation because they appreciate that that's happening. There's no point putting bonds in place and saying if you leave, you have to pay back the cost of the certification. That's minuscule in comparison of the big impact. So definitely that's the number one issue. We're also seeing that projects are becoming a lot more complex and they're becoming larger.
Yep.
So we're talking about giga projects, and I didn't even know that existed. I thought mega was already big enough.
Yeah.
But you know, there's enormous projects. I worked on the Marina Bay Sands project in Singapore, which was a $5 billion project, which I thought was big until I came here.
Yes.
So.
We do have a tendency of reinventing things and trying to make it the next level up.
Yes.
I mean, we always used to say we've got third world problems, second world problems, first world problems, Dubai world problems. So look, with that, in terms of looking to upskill and all the rest of it, I mean, certainly from the sort of company perspectives in regards to Saudia and Dubai Municipality, What's your real life experience currently around the talent retention and development? And you know, what's so we can talk about theory all day long, but what's your actual experience with it at the moment? And you know, Ben just alluded to the problem that we have, and in this region it's compounded as well because we've got the giga projects, so people just leaving and disappearing very quickly. So what's Saudia's experience with that sort of talent retention development, and you know, how successful have these programs been in the stages that you're rolling them out?
Okay, in Saudi as a group, we consider people as one of the values we have. So people fly people. So meaning that the biggest assets we have within our organization, within our 36,000 plus employees are the people. We have continuous operation very heavily, and we really value every single work that every employee does within Saudi, from operations to business to commercial to strategy to every aspect of the business. So we try to give them three things to retain them, especially when we talk about which generation we are having within Saudi as a group. The group consists of more than 13 companies, and in order to retain those assets or retain our people, we always give them three things. First thing, we give them a cause. Why are you there? What are you doing there? What is the meaning? What is the value for you as an individual? And what is the value for you as an organization that would always going to protect you against the outsider, to make sure that you are always safe, regardless if there's a pandemic, regardless if there is any situation surrounding the world, you will always be protected as one of the family of Saudi. Second, we give them confidence. They have to have confidence in the way they work. They have to fail, and they have to learn. I always advise to read a book about which is called Do, Fail, Learn, Repeat, the true business of building, the true truth of building new businesses by Nicholas Harambellis. I think this book is very important because it shows you how to fail. We always teach people how to be successful, and we always be biased under the survival bias all the time. They always compare ourselves against the good people. But we are never compare ourselves against the people who fail. I think we need to make sure that our people can fail easily and fairly, and they can learn from whatever they fail. And last but not least, which is very important, that those three are really the success factors of retaining the people in Saudi and any other company, is to have a role model there for the youth and for the people. You always need a role model in the organization, so that would makes you feel that always you follow some steps of people who are more experienced than you. You could learn from them, and it could guide you in a turbulence situations. In aviation, the industry is so volatile industry. Anything could happen, and the bottom line always fluctuated based on the surrounding environment. So having these three factors, cause, confidence, and role model, you'll always retain your assets and your people no matter what. And always keep your people working for your industry, for your company first, no matter what. We know we serve our passengers, our customers, our clients, but please always keep your eyes on your people, because you need to retain them no matter what happens around you within this industry. This is exactly my insight.
Excellent. And actually, moving through, so what's Dubai Municipality's experience with this real-life experience with the training and development, to back into the conversation that was very eloquently put forward by Ibrahim in regards to Saudi's approach? So, Heba?
So I agree 100% by Dr. Ibrahim. I think we need to focus more of what you mentioned, Dr. Ibrahim, are parts of the agility culture. So we need to focus on servant leadership. People are scared of the word manager or the boss. There's a fear factor that needs to be removed, that's associated right now with the boss. So this has to go. This has to go in order for us to move on. There has to be some kind of servant leadership in which the team is empowered to take decisions. The team is willing to give their ideas without the fear of being judged, without the fear of making mistakes, as Dr. Ibrahim said. So this is a major part that's related to the retention of the employees, because if they hear that they know that they are heard, they know that they are being treated fairly in their organizations, they will stick around. And if they know they have this connection with their boss, the personal connection, the human connection, and I think Grace talked about this in the morning, the productivity versus humanity. The humanity is missing right now between the employee and the leader or the director or the manager position.
It's interesting you should mention that in the productivity side of things, because industry-wise, the construction industry is the second worst productive industry in the world. As part of an Economist Intelligence Unit panel where we did some international research. Agriculture is 19% efficient and construction is 21% efficient. So it's interesting. So with that becoming improving efficiency and engagement, it's actually quite good, because Ibrahim was talking around training, but this is an opportunity really for Sarah and Ben to have a conversation, because from my industry, construction, well, I know it's economics as well, there's been requests around certification and training and development, which has led PMI to come up with the construction professionals in real estate. So I'm really handing first to Sierra and then on to Ben. How and why has it come around, and what sort of, and can you tell us a little bit more about it and the potential benefits for some of the audience as to how engaging? So please, both of you, feel free to go, but I know you're both well aware of it. We spoke about it last night, so.
Yeah. So for a number of years, we've been looking at our members and our certified community. And from the beginning, PMI always had quite a few of our customers frontline who were in the construction industry. And over time, as we introduced more agile concept, it kind of seemed like we were stepping away and going more to the digital side of things.
Yep.
About 5 years ago, Mohammed and I were laughing about this. We were talking about getting back to our roots and going back and seeing how we might help improve project outcomes. We were seeing a lot of data that suggested 40% of construction projects were not on time, and 70% were over budget, well over budget. And that is not aligned to our mission and our values. We really want to protect the profession and actually improve the profession. So we got together and we worked with some experts from a number of industries, a number of companies. We had input from Saudi Aramco, from Petronas. We even had income from the US Army, and there's a whole list, a litany of companies who formed what we call an expert panel. And this expert panel firstly defined a competency model that was really geared not just on project management, but construction professionalism. Like, what things are missing? What gaps are they having to fill? For example, after someone who has a PMP comes to work for them, what else is missing, right? And so we defined that competency model, and around that competency model, we decided to do something a little different. Instead of just building a certification and a test, we built a robust curriculum, and this includes 7 courses, 3 of which actually award a micro-credential, because the topic was so important that we felt we couldn't just leave it alone to just be training. We want to make sure you mastered those topics. And it culminates with a capstone examination, which actually is currently in pilot. This test is nothing like any test we've had before at PMI. It is based on a long, large-scale case study, which means that the people who have taken the curriculum have to really apply what they learned using real-world scenario, a very huge scenario, to show how they would manage the project and resolve the conflicts, et cetera, et cetera. So it has a variety of types of questions. It's about 170 questions long. But the goal there is to really modernize our curriculum offerings and realize that in the journey to gain your competency, you really have to not only take formal training, you have to get on the job practice, but over time you have to evaluate it. And one of the things that we're hoping to be able to prove very soon is that using that competency model, people who take this curriculum, the assessments, et cetera, are able to move up in their competency. So the effort and time that they're investing is actually worthwhile to them and the organizations they work for. And lastly, one of the things we're hoping to do is to continue that learning, because as you all know, we all learn from one another. We're doing that today. So we want to create a virtual forum of community for those who obtain this credential or who are participating in the curriculum, so they can do a bit of social learning from one another and networking, because we think that doing this will help empower many organizations and many individuals in the profession to improve and get better project outcomes.
Okay. Now, in relation to that, and specifically then in looking at, you come from my industry, I come from your industry as well, Ben, so we get bombarded with lots of people requesting and various different offerings. What do you feel makes this stand out for, let's just say me as a business manager for Atkins Faithful and Gould, that would get the involvement in there? I mean, are you helping build my capabilities? I mean, give me some few ideas of what you think in terms of what you would say if you came to my office and talked to me.
Yeah, well, certainly the first thing is that it really is an industry-led certification. You know, we deliberately went out to a lot of people that were either within the PMI community as well as others outside of that. So we wanted it to be a very rounded sort of feedback on what was going wrong in the construction industry. So I literally sat on hours and hours of workshops with these industry leaders. It was an amazing process, just hearing what the problems were and then categorizing them and realizing that it's very similar problems all around the world. Then, once we identified the problems, we had to come up with solutions to how we could mitigate or eliminate those particular problems. So it really was a very practical way of going through the process, very detailed, and it was also coming up with, as Sierra said, a practical way of testing people's knowledge. So we just wanted to emphasize that this is real life scenarios. There's lots of case studies. We set it up so it's like a choose your own adventure, you know, depending on your level of competency. If you've got, say, 3 years experience or 15 to 20 years experience, that's still okay. You can run through the process and say, well, I already know about that, and you can fairly quickly move through the curriculum. Or you can say, I'm not sure what that is, and there's further reading or downloads or other things that you can do. So it was, we believe, done in a very different way, and already the people that have taken the course have given us that very positive feedback.
Okay. And so, Dr. Mohammed, when we look at sort of the PMI offering just in general, I mean, you are the Professor of Construction Management. What is Minnesota State doing in terms of embedding these skill sets within your programs and, you know, help to prepare the students for the real world, really? I mean, what's your take on that?
I think the first pillar for us is the collaboration between the industry and the academia. It's a must. Especially in the States, we see that most of programs, whether construction management or construction engineering and management programs, have advisory board where they meet with industry professionals to get feedback about the curriculum, give feedback about what set of skills that needed in the market and best practices, and try to bring content to the classes. So by doing that, we improve the curriculum to be up to date to the needs for the industry. This is must. This is always, we do that all the time. In the meantime, we have our alumni who are already connected with the programs in general, and basically we invite them to speak to our classes about their experience, what kind of skills they already gain through the year meanwhile they are in the college, what kind of skills they need to gain, and what's their career path after graduation, what they should be aware of the challenges and opportunities, what's the areas that they need kind of to learn more about, or what kind of skills they need to gain. By doing that, they build some kind of background before, they graduate. After 2 years from taking classes and be part of this program, they have the opportunity, it's required, to have internship with the company. So they work 480 hours in the summertime, or they work in 6 months as a co-op and get training through the companies. And the companies love that. Why? Because this is a win-win situation. Through this internship, the company train the graduates or the students and try to learn more about themselves, So they prepare them for the full-time job. By doing this, it comes to, at the end of year 3, or might be 4, they might have multiple offers from the same company. So integrating industry in curriculum and bringing speakers to programs, creating networking events, sports events, so you peer professionals with students, play golf together, chat about the industry, learn about the potential future, openings and so on. They give them confidence about, okay, yeah, I will be ready. Oh, I like this. Oh, I can work on this area. So we can prepare them as we move forward. The challenge we have is we need to do that faster. Because supply, demand balance is not really helping us as industry. So we need to do that faster. Through 2-year colleges or 4-year university degree, we cannot teach everything or train our students on everything. So we need either industry or professional organizations like PMI to provide us with tools to, improve the skills of our graduates. And this is what we try to embed some certifications in our program. So collaboration with the industry, with professional organizations, bringing industry, early to our students, and also teaching them about what's going in the industry, taking them site visits all the time. Every week we have site visits to see and watch, and get them hands-on experiences. This is all that we do to improve our students' set skills and also fast-track their learning and, the ability to be adaptable to the new normal.
May I comment on Dr. Mohammed's talk?
Of course.
In the higher colleges of technology in the UAE, there is a committee, it's called the Program Advisory Committee, in which different members of the society who are working in, for example, I'm a member in that committee, and other ministries, for example, other government entities from all across the UAE, they meet twice per year, and they review all of the programs that are being taught for students in the higher colleges of technology. 7 years ago, they didn't learn anything about project management. We told them project management is a key for any topic that they are taking. They can even manage their wedding day. I don't know. So it's not only construction project or IT project management concepts in general, they had to be taught. And we do that regularly in the committee, so that's just an added benefit in how to integrate the industry with the college and the teaching.
Okay, well actually that kind of leads to two slightly pronged questions. One back to yourself and to Ibrahim, which is what are businesses doing in terms of that engagement? So we talent attraction and development can start very early on in the piece, but it requires us as businesses to get involved as well. And also to back that into the project management question, what's PMI doing to make sure that it's actually active and in places, not just Minnesota State University, but also within the Emirates, Higher Council, etc. What sort of exercises are you undertaking to try and get all that in? So Ibrahim, would you like to start in terms of what Saudi doing? I think you've got a massive nationalisation programme, of course, as we have, and Vision 2030 demands it.
First of all, we are really proud that 90% of the 36,000 employees of Saudi Group are Saudis, which basically give you a sign that we have a very good workforce of people that working within the different aviation sector within the group. Second, something that someone just asked me about something during the coffee break. Does Saudi have one of its company about construction? The answer is yes. One of the companies fully owned by Saudi is dealing with construction and real estate development. And basically, we have the biggest MRO village in the region with 1 million square meters in Jeddah, just northern part of the airport of Jeddah, which is something that we are proud of, and it's a very strategic project teaming up with big names and big companies in the region. And also globally when it comes to aircraft manufacturers and so on. Another thing which is, you've just mentioned about the Vision 2030, we called ourselves the Vision 2030 Wings. So we are the wings of the Vision 2030. And having said that, meaning that we are always committed ourselves to ensure that we will fulfill the Vision 2030 numbers until it ends by 2030 and continues to further years. So what we do, we always engage people. We always say in Saudi, organizations consist of 3 Ps. It's not public-private partnership. It's people, people, people. People who you work for, people who you work with, and people who you deliver service or goods to. I think these all about people means that you are working with emotions, you're working with cultures, you're working with different cultures, and you need to make sure that you can manage all this perfectly. And we engage them in the decision making. So whenever Saudi move ahead with strategy, in any of the companies owned by Saudi, we always engage different stakeholders and different people alongside with Saudi, whether those are like customers to Saudi or those are the operational employees. From the top to bottom, we make sure that we listen to the voice of the employees and the voice of the customers. And we try to work hard to improve and change ourselves rapidly and according to market. Especially after the pandemic, we need to make sure that our bottom line is protected because we are heavily supported by the government, and the same way we are in the competition. It is also important to bear in mind that we always put a dimension, 2-dimension framework, which is, we call it the 9 books grid, which is basically linking between performance and potential. And on all the way down, we make sure that how we blend those together to see exactly who's going to stay with us in the long run to make sure Saudi is sustainable when it comes to business continuity. And we always take in consideration any shift that we want to do within our strategy, making sure that our people's opinion always in there when we make this shift. From the board of directors down to the security guards, we always make sure that our sounds as heard. One story just to make sure that this all linked together. When I joined Saudi in June 2021, which is post the pandemic, people told me, "Are you crazy? You're joining aviation post-pandemic?" Then listen, there's always opportunity to make a big change when things you believe that's going south. So try your best just to make sure that you are engaging people more and more. So I've met one security guard after a month of reporting to work, and he told me, right just by the gate, he just told me, "I know you," because they announced the names and announced who's just joined Saudi. I know that you're going to make sure that Saudi are going to be great again, and that will take me to another book, which is a book, Good to Great. I think you guys have read this book. It's a very good book by James Collins. I advise everyone to read it. So don't think about positions, about organization structure, about things. Just think about how you could bring good people to your organization to make it a great company. Last but not least, there is a colleague of mine who I've met in PMI Saudi. He's called Antonio Rodriguez. He has a book called Project Management Handbook. And he shifted my mind from focusing on the field of project management to value creation. How can we shift our mind from delivery specific output to deliver specific outcomes? So shifting our mind to benefits management is what we need. We don't need just to think about how we deliver projects. We need to deliver impact. And this is how I implant during this 1 year this concept in all or most of Saudi to make sure that you are the wings of Vision 2030. So you need to walk the talk, and you need to make sure that this is happening, and you need to bring it up again, that Saudi group, to the top as per the Vision 2030. This is just to summarize exactly how to engage our people in our vision and our strategy.
Excellent. Very passionately said as well. But I mean, when we're coming back to that sort of engagement side of things and bringing all of that talent through from starting off with the educational sides of things, I'm going to go back to the first part of the question, which was, what does PMI do in terms of initiatives to try and link all of that together? So you're looking at this, please.
So earlier I spoke about the whole notion that the whole supply issue of talent is pretty low. One of the things that we know is that we have to get young people ready for their careers earlier, right? And so one of the things we've been doing at PMI is really looking at project management. Yes, it's a profession, but it also is a skill set, right? And introducing those skills at an earlier age. So, for example, a couple of years ago, actually right at the start of the pandemic, we introduced a high school credential. And that program is designed to teach secondary students the knowledge, the skills about project management in a context they would understand it. So their teachers instruct them on the topics, and then at the end, they have a project that they must manage with their teacher being the leader. And it's culturally and regionally specific. In the United States, they were planning a school dance. In another place, they were planting trees. They were doing a sustainability project. So it's whatever the teacher in the class in a servant leadership model have decided, that's what they're learning. And that's at the very beginning of our formal curriculum. We also have a global accreditation program where we accredit formal colleges and universities who have integrated project management formally into their educational programs. This allows us to have a voice and to assure that the next generation of engineers, business people, et cetera, don't learn about project management accidentally. They have incorporated it into their curriculum, and when they emerge from these institutions, it's not a foreign concept for them. But we also are acknowledging that learning on the job continues to happen. How many of us had our first project, or the first time we knew we were managing a project, it was by accident, it was assignment. It wasn't our real job, hey, you're gonna get this project, Sierra. And when that happened, you were a little nervous, right? Maybe you Googled if that was still around at that time. So we have supplied some things to really help people in that accidental scenario. We have a product called Kickoff, which is a free training. It teaches predictive project management, agile project management. It also has templates and tools that are downloads, and it's completely free. And that's because it's aligned to our vision of really making project outcomes be successful. It's not always about us trying to make money. We're trying to actually grow the profession and make sure the skill set is really pervasive throughout the globe. So that's one thing that we offer, as well as a PM Basics course and Intro to Project Management as well. So those are things that we are doing in addition to the stuff I spoke about earlier. And our new trend with the PMI construction professional certification is really being thoughtful about the curriculum, thinking about the whole continuous journey. It's not just about taking a test. You have to learn, and some of that's formal, and now some of that's mobile first. So our courses are designed that you can take them on your tablet or your phone while you're at work on your lunch break, right? And that is really listening and responding and understanding that the next generation of professionals may not be the same as what we saw in the last generation, yet they still have the need to grow.
Yes, that's very interesting as well, actually, because we've seen our industry in construction that we've been very resistant to technology. We're not really an early adopter. Let's put it that way. But part of the reason why we're actually so damned inefficient, but we're actually starting to see it come through. It's taken 20 years and most of my career, to be fair, to get to this point in time. But we are seeing a lot of it coming through. So you were talking about downloading on your mobile phones, etc. I mean, I've got more apps than I know what to do with, and I'm technologically inept. So how are you adapting? Ben, because you're in the industry, you know as well as I do that we don't pick up on these things very quickly, but now that they're here now, and so the industry needs help a little bit, and PMI obviously sits at a thought-leading level, and so how are you adapting your offering, so to speak, to help people like us?
Yeah, I think that the construction industry is very far behind when it comes to the use of technology. There's no doubt about that. Yep. There's some very smart people out there, and I'll do the same as Dr. Ibrahim and recommend a book. There's a person called Mo Gordat. He was the former head of Google X, and brilliant guy. You should listen to some of his podcasts. He talked about the fact that artificial intelligence will be 1 billion times smarter than people by 2045. Right, so that's nothing to be scared of. It just means we need to embrace it. We need to understand how to do things differently. We need to understand what cannot be automated and what is very important as a human being, and how we can add value. We're also, in terms of what PMI is doing if we're looking at the construction industry and how important it is to make it a lot more efficient and sustainable, we, apart from doing things like this and reaching out to our large network, we're also partnering with industry. So, for example, Oracle, working with them on their innovation hubs, which they have all around the world, including one in Saudi Arabia, where you can go in, wear the virtual reality goggles and run through a construction scenario and make decisions based on the information that's given to you. And it has dashboards and KPIs that you need to achieve. And it's actually using technology to make elements of what you do fun, which, by the way, then brings in the youth of today, which we talked a little bit about as well. And if we can then align that to, in a previous session, I think Jacob was talking about the importance of youth focusing on something that has an impact. It's not about the salary, it's about what impact can they make. And what better than the construction industry, where we've talked about these wonderful projects that are going on all around the world that are having a major impact on everything that we do. So I think if we can link all of those things together, which is what PMI is doing, it's very powerful.
Excellent, thank you. So Heather, we've been talking then about in several different phrases about getting involved early as points of education. I was unaware of the panel that you sat on for the higher education side of things, very interesting. And PMI is talking about getting involved at a very early stage. So how's DM trying to get involved at the early stage and try to bring through the best talent to come and work for Dubai Municipality and stay in that space? And also, because Dubai's a digital city, we've spoken about technology. How are you bringing that into the play as well, especially to help you with your retention and development of your staff?
So first of all, we are focusing on the metaverse as well. So digital twins and the metaverse, this is something that we are currently focused on. So just to comment, I think if the construction industry doesn't move as quickly as it should, then you will find the buildings are built in the metaverse, and all of this is already happening. I mean, one of the developers in Dubai has created a tower in the metaverse, and he's selling apartments right now.
Wow.
So this is just one comment. The other thing is regarding the students, whether they are in high school or whether they are in college, we always have these programs to reach out to these students. We have in Dubai also Hamdan bin Rashid program for personal development. So it is focused mainly on students for their own personal development. And I think it's a very good idea if PMI gets involved in this kind of programs and then give them more of a flavor of what's happening in the world in terms of what certifications do they need later on, and also the industry to get also involved. So it all depends on the passion of the students themselves. So what do they like the most? And it's very hard for a young generation to know what they want. They kind of jump from one passion to the other.
Yes.
But it's very important for them to know themselves first, to decide on what passion they want. And then we should be there as industry or as PMI to support them.
Okay, excellent. So, I mean, I'm going to have to follow Ibrahim and also Ben and come up with one of my favourite quotes in this area, which is Richard Branson: train your staff well enough that they can leave, treat them well enough so they don't. And so, I mean, so just one final thing to finish, because I'm conscious of time, is what does, moving forward in terms of your own business or your own interactions, what does success look like for the continued career and professional development within your business? I mean, so Ibrahim, just as a part of the closing statement, when you look into the future in a few years, what does that success look like to you?
Well, success to me basically could be translated into three points. First, we achieve our strategy moving forward year on year until we fulfill our role for the Vision 2030. This is one. Second, to always keep our people proud of companies like Saudia within the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the region, GCC countries, because it has a legacy for more than 75 years old companies. So success to them is basically keeping it this way and keeping it proud and pride. Third is keep learning, because there's many things new that comes up, and within my transformation journey within the Saudia Group, we have big digital transformation projects that we're supposed to transform many aspects of the operation into digital aspect, and we will also utilize the metaverse, and we utilize AI big time in terms of data, and because of data is the new oil, so we are trying to acquire data and oil at the same time. So anyway, so we are going to use data as well to make sure that we have good decisions. So first, fulfilling our role in the Vision 2030, which is we are the wings of Vision 2030. Second, we always have to be proud of what we do until we reach out to a company that everyone's supposed to be proud of. Third is to make sure that digital technologies and automation and the transformation is going side by side to ensure that we are profitable industry, and at the same time ensuring sustainability across all this industry, because we are way back in sustainability. I was talking to my colleague there, Mariam. The first thing I asked her, define sustainability for me, because I don't know what sustainability is. With all the academic degree, the certification, I'm still ignorant on what sustainability is, because we always mix up between sustainability and project-based sustainable initiatives. So these are the three things that I believe that if we achieve, we can call ourselves successful.
Excellent. Now, you were talking about actually PMI putting some free stuff in the market a little while ago. I mean, so there's obviously a level of wanting to get, well, just industry in general better, but what does success look like as far as you're concerned in terms of continued developments and all the rest of it? Yeah. We will suddenly work out how to actually project manage something correctly from day one when we start working. That would be quite good. Right. I could do with a few of those.
Well, given that the profession is aging, a lot of people are preparing for retirement. Yep. Success to me looks like a reimagined profession where we've attracted the next generation into the profession, and we've welcomed them. Yep. We've created a space where the work is worthwhile and really aligns to their values. And sustainability is key to that, because if we do not save this world with our projects, there will be no world for them to work in.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's all about, to me, democratization. Yes. And allowing people to come to the table with their experiences and enriching those experiences with quality education and opportunity, and acknowledging that sometimes education is not in a classroom. It might be on a tablet, it might be through social learning, as I mentioned before, yep. But acknowledging that all of those things can enrich and grow a person and develop them.
Brilliant, thank you. And so, Dr. Mohammed, what does success look like from your perspective when we move forward and you see your students move on and go into the world of, what does success look like? Is it them all becoming very successful, or are you keeping in touch with them and seeing them all grow, or what is your view?
Yeah, I always ask the question in the first year for students, what does it mean success for you? And you get different answers, and I tell them, okay, you are all correct. Because everyone has a different way to define their own success. The one goal for educators and industry professionals is to inspire and motivate people to try to find a purpose and to be long life learner. To learn all the time. So you don't really finish your degree and you stop there, okay, I have a degree now. Nope. This is a starting point. The degree states that you are qualified to learn. You're going to start your learning journey.
Yep.
And this is what we try to push. We are building leaders, and we inspire our students, and of course, professionals, if they already kind of study with us as a part-time students as well. So success is basically you inspire, motivate to be a long life learner.
So when we look at the continued career and professional development, what does success look like for yourself and your team, Eba?
So I think there are two targets for success. One is an easy target, which is what you mentioned today, training or upskilling the employees or getting them certified. Last year, actually, I had a meeting with Grace, and we are on board with the goal of the PMI to certify 25 million people. And I asked for 50 certifications. She asked for 150. and we will do it. So I think this is easy. This is the easy part. The hard part is focusing on mental health, because this is a huge success. With this line blurred between the work and home and family and passion and hobbies, all of these lines are currently blurred after COVID-19.
Yep.
So how do we make sure that the employees are happy doing what they're doing? They're not feeling pressured. All of these are the harder goals. In Dubai Municipality, we have a life coach, by the way, in our HR department, and I have a life coach sitting here in the audience, and my team as well. So I think it's very important to have the mental health focus with the employees. Otherwise, even if the salary is very high, they will not stay. And I think Sierra mentioned the word quiet quitting, which is a term currently very trending on TikTok. I'm not a TikTok user, by the way.
Well, it's trending on LinkedIn as well, which is the only social media I use pretty much.
Yeah, and the other term which came exactly with it was act your wage. So, but what if the wage is very high and I'm still not happy? So this kind of things need to be focused on.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much. And finally, I mean, I could say what does success look like for our industry. I mean, if we can get 79% of projects delivered late or over budget, if we can get that number down a little bit, that for me looks like success. But what's your view, Ben?
There's a pretty big impact, obviously, with all of the waste in the industry and the conversion and the good things that we can do by making it more efficient. But mine's very quick, and that's just to say that, you know, we want to make this world not only livable, but vibrant for our children and our children's children. So I think there's a lot that we're doing here that is making good headway into that.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much to our panellists. I've gone a couple of minutes over. My apologies to Grace and the team. But we would say thank you very much to the panel as we make our way off. But thank you.
Thank you.